Hey, I want to talk to you about, hey, you get in a situation where you got to call the state. Let me give you some suggestions, right? I think early on I talked about, you know, having good rapport with staff. That's going to make such a big difference, um, right off the bat. You know, try to establish that with the charge nurses, with the administrator, a few others. Because most times you should be able to go to them and have them address those issues. I don't want you to be the person that's, you don't say anything to anybody. You just keep getting mad about stuff. And you're afraid that if you say something to somebody, that there's going to be some sort of retribution against your loved one. I've never seen a case of retribution. Um, I mean, if some family member's being a total jerk, I mean, people tend to avoid him and not like him. But I've never seen him take it out on the loved one. Okay, that's been my experience. You should be able to ask for reasonable things and get a reasonable response. Nothing wrong with that. Okay? But, if you've asked and if it's not a situation where there's immediate harm and they're not addressing it, or let's say, you've gone up the chain, they haven't addressed it, or if you have a situation that you're really worried about somebody's in danger, then yeah, you got to call the state, right? But don't be that person that just lets it lay, lets one more thing get you upset, one more thing gets you upset, and all of a sudden, that last thing happened, you got to call the state, and man, you got a long list of stuff to report here and there, and, first off, that's not going to work real well, and it's going to work to your disadvantage, right? I mean, think about it from an inspector's perspective, which I've been for a long time, most of my career. I get a complaint with, 10 or more allegations. I may take 2 hours to get to that facility, 2 hours back, and I'm maybe expected to get that wrapped up in a day. That means I got maybe, half an hour or less to look at every concern you have. Can I go in depth? I'm not sure how depth I can go in some things. I have to rush, try to get it done. You want to make sure that you're addressing the most important issues. Don't just throw a bunch of stuff out there hoping something lands. And be straight up. Don't exaggerate. We can pick up on that. And it just undermines you. If I figured out you lied and exaggerated about one thing, sorry, I'm going to probably assume you did about the other stuff, and I won't take you as serious. So just report what you know to be true, what you've seen, observed, read, whatever that may be, and then we'll look at that. And it's not always possible to substantiate a lot of issues. Residents clam up, staff clam up, they don't want to say bad things. We weren't there, we don't see it. People's behavior changes when we come around. They get on their toes and do their stuff they're supposed to do. So we can't create the evidence to prove a deficiency, all right? But, don't get disheartened by that, because we go around and we look at something, well, you know what? They know this is kind of an issue, and I think that indirectly it gets them a little bit more on their toes. At least that's what I like to think, and I think it does to some extent. The other thing you need to realize about complaints is that, we don't tell who called in the complaint. As long as you don't say to the facility, well, if you don't do this, I'm going to call the state. Don't be doing that. You don't have to do that. Then obviously they're going to know, right? They can guess, but they're never going to know, because we're not going to tell them. And we never tell them ahead of time when we're going to show up. So as long as you can keep yourself quiet about it, then we'll be able to go in there when they're not expecting it, right? So just so you know, when you call in these complaints, you can be anonymous. You don't even have to identify yourself. You can say, I'm sorry, I don't want to say who I am, but I have this concern and that concern. That's fine too. If you give your name, it helps us sometimes, so we can get back to you and let you know the results of the investigation. But that's your discretion, that's your choice. That's how that works. All right? So hopefully that helps you. If you need to call the state, there's usually a state hotline number you can call with your state. Just look it online. It's usually out there. Facilities usually have it posted somewhere. But yeah, you should be able to get that pretty easily. Each state has their own. All right, hope that was helpful. Gave you some suggestions on how to register official complaints with the state so investigators can go out there on site. If you found that helpful, please give me a thumbs up so other people can see this video, and share it with friends, and get more information that might help you at www.nursinghomerisk.com. See you on the next one.